So please introduce yourself and your involvement in the Pride movement.
I'm Chevalier Lovett. I go by Chev.
My name is Angelica Jones, but I go by Angelica Sanchez. That's my stage name.
So could you actually share with us what your thoughts are on the current Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ Pride movements?
To be fair, I've not been able to quite put intent into a thought because there's a lot happening. And being a black man, being a queer black man, and being someone who's worked in the movement in general for marginalized communities, right? The black community is a marginalized community and has been for 400 plus years, right, in the country. You know, I think what particularly is happening is we're talking about freedom. So Juneteenth just happened on Friday. Juneteenth is this celebration of a liberation and freedom, and the continued narrative since I learned what Juneteenth was since I was a teenager, was like, we're not free. We're liberated. We have certain liberties, but we don't have freedom. And so what's happening now is we're fighting for freedom, and then there's no choice. Folks now have no choice to recognize blackness as it is, right? It's a very, black is bold. And I used to shy away from that. I used to shy away from that because it's like, you can't be proud of who you are, right? I can march in June or in October here in Orlando in a pride parade and be very proud of being gay, but I can't say black is bold, and there's an issue with that, right? And so, you know, what we're seeing now is people are fed up. Folks who are black are fed up. Folks who are not black are fed up. We're having crucial, honest, very tough conversations, and it's causing discomfort. But from where there's discomfort, it's like a muscle. Yeah. You have to break down the muscle to build it up. Yeah. And so we're breaking shit down in a really big way right now, and it's gonna be this bigger and larger muscle. This movement this time is a little bit different because it's not just Black Lives Matter. It's all Black Lives Matter, right? And it's opportune time, particularly in Pride Month, because you have this entire community in the black community that's ignored. And now this community who's been standing up, the LGBTQ plus community, has always stood up for folks, have always marched for folks. We've always let folks into our tribe. And now it's like, okay, we're gonna be seen and we're gonna lead this movement. And I think we have been leading this movement.
I think we've always led movements. So, I mean, you think about the March on Washington, it was derived by a gay black male. But he had to be in the background due to the people he loved. And far as with the All Black Lives Matter, the Pride, this whole thing we talk about Pride was, you know, the Stonewall riots were started by Marsha P, which was a black trans woman. And, you know, it was a black trans woman and a Hispanic trans woman that, you know, really threw the first rock and the first stone at Stonewall. And we celebrate them.
So could you share your own personal experience that you've actually had within the Orlando community around the LGBTQ or the Black Lives Matter movement?
You know, I think for most folks that are from the Orlando area, what really propelled people into the movement, you know, the LGBTQ plus movement was Pulse. I mean, Pulse was a historic event that helped me not only realize who I was, come out a little bit more from who I am as well. And I ended up losing 5 friends in Pulse, where that night we were supposed to be celebrating my birthday, I didn't show up, right? And so, I ended up, you know, quitting my job that very next day. And decided to do something. I needed to do something more. I didn't have a platform. I still don't have a platform, but I know I'm really obnoxious and I have a voice. And so I ended up going to an organization called Organize Now, where I saw an action that they did called Sit In for the 49. And 49 folks got arrested on private property to, you know, lobby Marco Rubio to do something about gun violence. And
I remember
that very day, I'm like, who is this? What do y'all do? And 2 weeks later, I started working for them.
So how can people get involved? How can people learn more? How can people help? What are some things that we should be doing if we want to get more involved in supporting communities around the pride movements that are happening right now?
I remember, like, I was marching here and I saw this young lady, you know, she was just having some food and I was like, come join us. come march with us. And she's like, well, I don't know, I'm kind of a little, afraid and scared. I was like, that's okay, you don't have to march today, but I'll march for us today.
Yeah.
You can come march for us tomorrow, but today I'll march for us. Here's my card, right? And we have to be aware of her EQ at that, or her emotional stance at that moment. It's a lot of anxiety, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. We have thousands of people around who are wearing masks, right? No one wants to get sick. And that's also very fascinating. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and yet this movement is the biggest movement in the last 40 years I think I've ever seen.
Well, I think people have also realized that this is worth dying for.
Yep.
Because so many of our people have died before for this moment. I believe this is the dream that Martin saw.
Yeah.
It's really coming to fruition, is that people are being judged by the character, and that's what we need more of, and not by the color of their skin. And I think it's beautiful that it's so many people, array of color, array of sexuality, array of gender and non-gender conforming individuals coming together and saying enough is enough. And we're gonna hold you accountable. These lawmakers and everybody, the police, we're gonna hold you accountable for the things that you do, because we wanna be treated as human beings, and everyone deserves that right. And do we say all lives matter? Of course all lives matter. The problem is Black lives haven't mattered to so many people for so long that we want you to say and understand that our Black lives matter too.
Also, I love that you said that. And simply existing is not a mistake.
Right.
Simply existing is, I am who I am. Another, I think, way for folks to do that, or to start making that first step is, we talked about EQ earlier, right? How did it make you feel when someone judged you in that moment? So put yourself in someone's shoes for a second. You wanted to do something, someone said, no, I'm judging you for it and you can't do it. And it was something simple. And so we just asked folks, I asked folks, put yourself in your shoes, in someone else's shoes, in a situation that you didn't feel good, that you wanted to do something, and someone said, no, that's not right, you couldn't do it. And yet you knew that was who you were and you wanted to do that. And then actively seeks, we're telling folks they need to actively be anti-racist, right? Especially within the Black Lives Matter movement, right? I'm gonna start saying all Black Lives Matter movement. We tell folks to actively seek to be anti-racist. Well, we need to do the same thing. Folks to be actively seek to be anti-homophobic, be anti-transphobic, be anti all these things, to be anti-judgmental. Let folks just simply exist.
Yeah, put your judgments aside. That's the problem with people today. It's so much judgment on things that you just don't understand. And I think if you try to understand it, then you'll have a better clarity of what people and who they are. Just realize that people are born to be individuals. It goes back to what I was saying about, we make God so small, but if you realize twins don't even have the same fingerprint. And if you know anything about math, that means there's so many variables that come with you that make you you. So find out who you are, what you want to be, and live in that truth. Because God only made one you. Out of all the billions of people in the world, there's only one you. We might share the same skin color. We might share the same eye color, We might share the same sex. But at the same time, we're so different. There's beauty in there. Appreciate God for that. Thank you so much. God bless you.
That's the tea.
Yes.
That's the tea.
That's the tea.
The tea, yeah.